What's good, YouTube? It's your boy TSO Sage, and I'm back with another video. Now, I know there's been a lot of noise about a lot of different trades. Tyrese is going crazy in Indiana, and that's what's up. But it's no secret, no doubt whatsoever, that the blockbuster trade of this year's NBA season is the James Harden for Ben Simmons trade. And while on one side it's starting to look like a scam, I mean, is bro gonna play? Is he not gonna play? What's going on there, champ? The other team, being the Philadelphia 76ers, are receiving great return. I know, completely mind-blowing, right? Well, you wanna know what's funny? For some of you, it actually is mind-blowing. For some of you, it's still not enough and you need to see more than 2 games, and that's great, whatever. When you end up saying the same things I'm saying in this video, but 2 months later than I did, congratulations, you're just a more calculated idiot. I fuck with it. But no, seriously, there was a lot of doubt with this James Harden, Joel Embiid duo. People thought they couldn't play together even, which I think was asinine, but we'll talk about that. A lot of people suspect their inevitable failure, their injury-prone playoff chokers, and a bunch of other takes that were kind of reaches, but admittingly, these are the main ones. So in this video, I'm gonna go over why I think those takes are pretty stupid, or at least most of them. Some of them are actually valid concerns, and I'm gonna try my best to explain to you guys that don't believe in this duo for some reason that they're not only legit, they're true contenders in the East.
Contenders? Sage, they can't even win a playoff series.
Yeah, so usually in my videos I tend to wait for the elephant in the room, try to test some loyalty, get the retention up, you feel me? But I feel like this is the main no shit Sherlock take about the 76ers and their new duo, hell, even their head coach. So rather than drag the video with other takes that you probably don't believe, let me just address the main one first, which is simply the fact that James Harden, Joel Embiid, and Doc Rivers are notorious playoff chokers, and 3 wrongs don't make a right. And while I understand that sentence and that sentiment, I don't think it applies to these 3 names, especially to the players. But Doc Rivers, I ain't gonna lie, you could argue I'm reaching, but I'll fully explain my point when I get to him, starting with James Harden. Spoiler, you're gonna hear me start the other 2 segments off like this, but he is not in the same situation. I don't think anyone's referring to Oklahoma City James Harden, so we don't need to talk about that. But when it comes to James Harden in Houston, everyone wants to bring up all these underperformances, all these blunders, all these losses, which are not really talking about what James Harden was in Houston. It's gonna sound very weird, so I'll definitely explain it, but James Harden was essentially a solo star with a co-star. When you talk about James Harden's time with Dwight Howard, Dwight was definitely a good center, but he was nowhere near the center Joel Embiid is right now, and to be honest, he was nowhere near the center he was in his prime. And y'all know I fuck with Dwight, so it's not even on some negative shit. He's one of my favorite players of all time. I recognize that he was a good player in Houston. He was reduced to a pick and roll partner. Defensively, just anchor the paint because you know James Harden can't stay in front of his man. And if someone on the other team going crazy, go ahead and give him a little nudge, you feel me? Wasn't that much asked of Dwight Howard in Houston. And funny enough, he wanted to do more. He wanted his post-up opportunities. Hopefully I can find an article for that shit. I'm an L researcher. But he didn't. Why? Because James Harden was still a solo star mentally. Dude was just out there tween, step back, and one! Like, bro, that's not gonna work with nobody. It'll work to its exceptional levels because it's James Harden doing it. But of course, come playoff time, that shit is not gonna make it to the finals, dog. Not even close. Let alone will it compliment and support Dwight Howard. Then obviously the 1 year where he literally was the single star on the team. And Chris Paul, truthfully, while I thought Chris Paul would be a contradiction to my argument, he actually damn near stamps it. Because did James Harden change when Chris Paul got there? For the most part, no, not really, especially when it comes to on the court. James Harden was still taking all the time off the shot clock, ISOing whoever he wanted to ISO, passed whoever he wanted to pass to, and while he got a little bit better, he still wasn't playing that much defense. For real, the only difference was the fact that he believed in Chris Paul. It was the first time in a long time he believed in another player's talent, playmaking decisions, and the fact he trusted Chris Paul with the ball in his hand even if he's on the court. Like, let's not think of them as a Steph and Clay duo. Chris Paul was brought to Houston to have 48 minutes of elite level playmaking so the Rockets can be extremely toxic from the 3-point line. Let's not forget the opposition here. So while Chris Paul was definitely complimentary to James Harden, I wouldn't say they were a dynamic duo that fit together, you feel me? Like their skill sets don't play off of each other. You know what I'm talking about. Or maybe you don't. It's so weird to explain. Like, it definitely wasn't a solo act. He did have Chris Paul on his team, but the team built it as if he were a solo star. He still had those responsibilities. The team was so built around James Harden, they wanted Chris Paul to essentially be the guy where if James Harden has a bad game, at least Chris Paul can try to do what we want James Harden to do, but we prefer James Harden to not have a bad game. If you're still not convinced, for the love of God, it was a D'Antoni system. The man's whole resume is about how he boosts a superstar's talent, and no matter what the measures are, optimizes the hell out of it. And then regarding Russell Westbrook, I know it's 2022, Sage, you're just slandering Russ, but bruh, he was quite literally Chris Paul gone wrong.
Sage, you just did a lot of rapping. What the hell does that have to do with him being a playoff choker?
Oh nah, cuz he definitely choked. Nobody's disputing that. Nobody's gonna act like that wasn't a thing. I mean, shit, look at the numbers.
Huh? But didn't you just...
Bro, the thing is, because of the responsibility asked of him in Houston, when you compare that to what the 76ers want him to do right now, what his role is, what his responsibility is, I don't think Houston matters at all. And to be honest, it doesn't matter to you either. Because what was said about James Harden the second he started balling in Brooklyn?
Yo, this is the best James Harden I've ever seen. He's evolved his game.
People was laughing about how he duped the Rockets and dropped the fat suit. Motherfucker, bro, got a Zenkai boost. People were saying in a league with LeBron James averaging 10 assists, Stephen Curry having an MVP caliber year, Nikola Jokic actually winning the damn award, and the world praying for Chris Paul more than any other season in his life. People were still like, yeah, I don't know, dog. James Harden might be the best playmaker in basketball. And that's on the low end. You want to know what the sentence really was? James Harden might be the best player in basketball. Well, I completely understand why people like to hold players accountable. To be honest, everybody want to be a goody two-shoes. I understand why some people have fun getting toxic, smoking whatever player's pack is in the air at the time, or if anything, just to trigger other teams' fan bases. But no, seriously, I can't call James Harden a playoff choker if I feel like he's a different player in a different position entirely. A lot of people are gonna say, well, in Brooklyn, he was the co-star. Which, if you want to do the player debate thing, sure, I guess Kevin Durant was definitely better than James Harden. Whatever, who cares? But if you ask me personally, I think it came down to, well, we have Kyrie Irving, we have Kevin Durant, we have Joe Harris even. Why the hell they need me to ISO? I'm by far the best passer on the team. Let me just do that. And while I know small sample size, but in the series against Boston before his injury, bro put on damn near a masterclass. If y'all want to penalize him for being on one leg in Milwaukee, that's fine. But I think we all know that's a bit unreasonable, especially being on one leg for 53 minutes. Holy shit, he should not have played. But now that James Harden's a much better player with an entirely different role, he's not just the solo act guy anymore, but instead he's supporting another superstar. We've seen him do well at that. If anything, he's bound to do better because Joel Embiid compliments him more than Kevin Durant. Why would I then have to give a singular fuck about what James Harden did in Houston? And we're not even talking about his last couple of years in Houston. Fun fact, in 2019 against the Warriors and in the bubble against the Lakers, James Harden was not the problem. Not even close. I don't know, I've been talking about James Harden for like 5 minutes now. But Doc Rivers and Joel Embiid is a lot easier to break down. With Doc Rivers, I know he was a Clipper. I understand he was with Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. But in terms of a coaching responsibility, this is by far the easiest task and the best position he's been in since maybe his championship team. I said this in an older video, so really this bit's gonna be short. But to this day, everybody talks about with the Clippers, get him a playmaker, get him a playmaker, get him a playmaker. Even though I personally think the motherfuckers is fine. But that would still demonstrate how the Clippers roster doesn't gel well together. It isn't 100% a fit. James Harden and Joel Embiid is the most no shit Sherlock common sense fit I've ever seen in my life. Along with the complementary defense, the third guy and Tyrese Maxey being there, and you have a couple of shooters on the team, not too many though, that's the only thing I'm a little suspect about. But yeah, it's not that hard of a job for Doc Rivers to do, and I would even argue that they can out-talent Doc Rivers if it came to it. Moving on to said talent, I don't get how Joel Embiid's a playoff choker. I'm gonna just say it in 4K. And I say that because the man has been in the playoffs 4 times. If you think that Joel Embiid today is the same Joel Embiid that he was his first 2 times entering the postseason, you're an idiot. So sure, in late 2018, late 2019, Joel Embiid was not that good in the postseason. Sure, whatever. Goes to the bubble against Boston, and sure, he could have been more efficient. Could have shot the 3-ball a lot better. The dude was giving you like 30 and 12. And if you really held bent on the efficiency, the latter half of the series where the efficiency declines, he went to the free throw line 16 and 18 times. What does that tell you? No easy shots and fuck Ben Simmons. That's exactly how Boston played him. Revisionist history a bitch. For the love of God, let me remind you, Boston fans got coward damn near trending on Twitter. Some people were going on Joel Embiid, fair enough, that's true, but for the most part, they were talking about Ben Simmons. Which side tangent, y'all, I ain't gonna lie. If that boy ducked March 10th, that's scary as hell. But then back to Joel Embiid, literally his last playoff run. The fuck is the choke? Bro had a torn meniscus and was giving the Hawks fits. And prior to that, dogged the Wizards. I don't know, maybe it's just fun to slander players. But yeah, this whole choking trio thing doesn't make sense. Wow, that sounds like a crazy title. Anyways, I know I dragged that segment on for far too long, but I really don't regret it. I'm gonna leave this in the video because at the end of the day, that was the main get back at this duo, right? Like the whole injury thing is a good point. 100%, I can't ignore that. James Harden is damn near injury prone himself, low-key, but that's just something you kind of like pray doesn't happen. I mean, that's with any fragile player ever. Hell, even players that don't get injured all the time, I guess if a player gets hurt, then they lose. No shit, what the fuck? Again, I'm not trying to belittle the point because it's not valid. It is. But like, what joy do I have debating, well, he won't get hurt, bruh, or the Sixers are perfectly fine without Harden or Embiid, or he won't get hurt in the postseason, he'll get hurt in like March. Like, okay, I guess, like I can't really talk about that. Another concern that's quickly getting debunked, thank God, was the concern for Tyrese Maxey's development and play. I've even heard people tell me they should have packed up Maxey instead of Curry. Ridiculous. With his performances as of late, I don't need to explain why, but the only thing I'll give them is sure, Maxey's Philly's playmaking development might take a hit, maybe. Truthfully, I doubt it, but even then, bro's getting better looks, drawing less defensive attention, still gonna be able to make plays because he's dumb fast anyway, still gonna be able to run the break because he's dumb fast anyway, and I might be accidentally spinning the block on the better looks thing, but did we forget he upgraded at point guard from Seth Curry to James Harden? He's gonna be fine, bro, I promise. A very small amount of stupid idiots in the world thought that they actually just aren't a good fit and that James Harden's playstyle is just gonna turn Joel Embiid into a lob threat. No, you're thinking too much. You're close though. They're gonna spam pick and roll. Joel Embiid damn well about to be a pick and roll partner all game. He'll get a couple plays on the block because he's, you know, Joel Embiid. But if you're concerned about James Harden having Joel Embiid set screens all game, oh, be afraid, I guess, because that's exactly what they're gonna do. Except rather than Joel Embiid turning into a Clint Capella Part 2 or a 7-foot Rocco, Joel Embiid's actually a 7-foot MVP caliber player with guard skills who's already uncheckable by most, if not all, centers in the league right now. But let alone he would cook any mismatch he'd get off a pick and roll, and he's athletic enough to turn a pick and roll into a pick and pop because he can stop on the dime, and James Harden's a good enough passer to get him the ball where he needs to be regardless of that, and James Harden's uncheckable his damn self, and when you really think about it, he has a height and size advantage over his position too. So yeah, I guess if it's a 2-game sample size and you need to see more, I guess, but we all think you're dumb, bro. There's a couple people that think James Harden's gonna go diva mode and rage quit after year 1 or 2, which I doubt because he wanted to go there. I don't know what that trending article or reporter was that said, oh, he always wanted to go to Brooklyn. He wanted to go to Brooklyn. That was his first choice. People was photoshopping James Harden in a Philly jersey since Joel Embiid was competent. I don't know how we done mixed that up, but either way, I just disagree because he clearly wanted to go to Philly. He knows Daryl Morey. Ain't nobody looking at nobody else but them two. Like with majority of the negative points in this video, I feel like people are too caught up in the past sometimes. And while history can definitely repeat itself, there's definitely context in that history. But with this Harden and Embiid situation, it's more so like a new chapter, like a redemption arc, or for some people even a last chance moment, because we know that pack gonna bust if they don't win. I want to reiterate that right now. And for certain, they're gonna have their Greek obstacles to overcome. Their Jimmy Neutrons on the sideline. The young Bulls are on the way. And shit, mama put your ass in this world. Don't let her take you out. I'd be a liar if I said it'd be easy for the Philadelphia 76ers in this duo to succeed. But to imply that they can't, or to even doubt their ability to begin with, either you just on some hating shit, you living way back in the past, or you're misinformed. But either way, bro, you tripping and I feel sorry for you because this duo is gonna be amazing. I don't know why you're cranky right now, but you need to tighten the hell up and get with the times, old man. But that's gonna do it for today's video. It's been your boy TSO Sage. Hopefully this video goes up before the Sixers just lose to somebody ridiculous, and now everybody's gonna be like, see, this what I was talking about. The only thing that really scares me about this Philly team is the role player shooting. Outside of that, this duo about to go crazy in my opinion. But if you disagree, you're entitled to be wrong. Feel free to comment what you believe below. And it's been your boy TSO Sage. I'ma holla at y'all later. Take care and stay blessed.